So, good evening, everyone, or good morning to you, or good afternoon to you, depending on wherever you're connecting from. And it's good to have all of you and all of us down here today. So, basically, what we will be talking about today is actually building a startup investors want in 2025. So the assumption is majority of you that are here are actually either a founder or an aspiring founder. And this conversation is one of the most necessary conversations that needs to be had, especially in 2025, where the need for investors and the need for funding has continually increased. Okay, so um, we would go from, so what we're going to cover today would go from, are you really a startup? That's the first part of what we're going to discuss. Okay, because now most times being the reason why you're unable to raise funding, it's because you assume you're a startup, but you're actually not a startup. Okay, so we're going to go from, are you really a startup, to the startup ecosystem, who is involved in the startup ecosystem, and then we'll go into why do startups fail, and then we'll talk about the stages of a startup. Okay, so you know what stage your startup currently is, and what investment opportunities are actually open to your startup based on the stage that the startup is. And then we're going to talk about how funding works, and then we'll proceed to how to attract funding for your startup, then get into product market fit and common challenges founders tend to face. And then we'll go to requirements of each startup stage when it comes to raising funding. And then I would basically conclude with a task that I want all of you to be able to do. And then I will conclude. So like I said before, this training was supposed to be an exclusive training, but I decided to basically open it to founders from everywhere, basically. So that's part of the importance of that task and conclusion. Okay. So who am I? My name is Sokaribo Senibo, and I am a startup advisor, a software developer, and a technopreneur. That is who I am. And every other thing there is just English, which is basically I help entrepreneurs turn their ideas into startups, help founders like you navigate the challenges of building a startup, and then assist existing founders to basically improve their operations and attract paying customers, partners, and investors. Okay, so that is what I do. And basically, you could see that I have done this I started working with startups for as much as 6 years. And in that time frame, I have been able to work with more than 150 startups already. Okay, so when it comes to advisory, when it comes to startup, I have worked with them over the years, and I think I have enough expertise and enough knowledge to actually share that will be valuable to you and your funding journey today. All right. So proceeding, are you really a startup? Basically, so like I said during when I was discussing the TOC, and sometimes the major reason, sometimes the reason why you're unable to raise funding might be because you assume that you're a startup, but when you send your pitch deck and um, when you pitch your startup to an investor, they basically look at it and they actually realize that your startup is not a startup, but they don't tend to give you all of this feedback. Okay, so what really qualifies you to be a startup in Nigeria? Okay, so from your screen, you would see that a startup is a scalable, innovative, tech-enabled business designed to grow rapidly. Okay, so that first part of the sentence is the most important thing of the definition of startup. So a startup is a scalable, innovative, tech-enabled business designed to grow rapidly. So if you're operating in Nigeria, this is one of the definitions of what qualifies you to be a startup. Okay, so you would see that some words are actually highlighted. We have scalable, we have tech-enabled business, and we have grow rapidly. Okay, so I know the common definition that we tend to use is a startup is a tech-enabled business. Okay, but that is just one side of what a startup should be. So the key characteristics from this definition are tech-enabled, ease of scalability, and rapid growth. So when you look at your startup, do you have all of these three things? Okay, if you do not have all of these three things, then you might just be a business and not a startup. Okay, so does whatever you're offering, is it tech enabled? Okay, does whatever you're offering, is there a tech element to it, first of all? Okay, if there's a tech element to it, then the next phase is, what is the ease of scalability? How easy is this for it to be able to go global? Okay, so you check your ease of scalability. If it's something that requires you to do a lot of work before you can gain scalability, then it is not a startup. Then rapid growth. Startup have the ability to go from 0 to 100 in the shortest time possible. And one check that you can do is do a 10 years back. Okay, do a rewind the world by 10 years, and you will notice the majority of the major startups, some of the major startups we have, didn't actually exist 10 years ago. Okay, and so you see that majority of them didn't actually exist 10 years ago. So one of the criteria of being a startup is that your ability to grow rapidly. So I don't know what startup you're into right now, but that's one form of gauging that you should do. Is a startup tech enabled? Is a startup, does it have ease of scalability? And does it have the potential to actually grow rapidly? If we have all of these three elements, then you're a startup. If it doesn't have all of these three elements, then you may you might just be a form of a business, basically. Okay, so moving on, we have categories of startup. Okay, so for categories of startup, you would see that they are buyable offshoots, social startups. So buyable startups are basically startups that are built to be acquired, and that is where majority of the startups that we have actually fall into. So startups that are built with the exit strategy of being acquired. Okay, so when you have all of those startups that categorize as being a buyable startup. Then for startups usually are, are startups that are bettered from an organization. So take, for instance, now Google has a lot of offshoot startups. So when there is a parent organization and in the process of solving their internal problem, they get to develop a solution, then it becomes an offshoot startup. So those are what we categorize as being offshoot startups. And social startups are startups that are focused majorly on sustainability. Okay, sustainability, non-profit, social enterprise. Those are what we categorize as being social startup. Okay, so now when it comes to classification, there are different classifications to which you can use to classify a startup. So you can use the industry classification, which is where we have the fintech startup, the edtech startup, which other one do we have? The agro startup, um, and the many industry specific startup. So that's a form of classifications of startup. And we have a classification based on business model. Okay, is it B2B, business to business? Is it B2C, business to C? Is it C2C? A perfect example of C2C is eBay. Okay, eBay, Airbnb are majorly C2C. Okay, so that's another categorization of classification of startup based on business model, and then classification based on funding round. Is this seed funding? Is this Series A, and the rest of them? And then we have innovation type, which is it disruptive, and the rest of them. Okay, so um, analyze what you currently have and judge if you are actually a startup or you're actually just a business. So now, for the startup ecosystem, who and who is actually involved? And the truth is, it is important for you to understand all of these foundational things if you have to understand how the funding landscape work. Okay, so if you don't understand the down, then if you just focused on the top part of things, you would miss a lot of things, and you would just realize that a lot of your efforts that you put into trying to raise funds are actually not yielding any fruit. So the startup ecosystem, who are the people actually involved? So we have the founders like you. Okay, so the founders like you are the heart of the ecosystem. You're the ones driving the innovation. You're the ones building the startup. Okay, so those are you. Then we have the investors, so the angel investors, the venture capitalists, the crowdfunding, investors that come from as a result of crowdfunding, investors that come from debt, from grants, and the rest of them. Okay, so they are there to enable you to be able to achieve that startup that you want to build, to achieve that scale that you want to do. Okay, to give you that money, the money that you need to actually get the work done that you want to get done. Okay, so we have the investors, then we have the communities. Now, those communities are really, really important because I see a lot of founder when I tend to consult, and then you tell me, we're looking for designers, we're looking for this set of people, and the rest of them. And I would have, are you in any of the communities that actually have all of these skilled people? And and the result you get or the answer you get is no. Okay, so founders tend to focus on communities that are beneficial to them and them alone. Okay, but they also forget that um, the startup is you are there, but you also need people that are skilled in different areas to be able to bet the startup. Okay, so you also have to look for all of those communities that have the skills that are required for you to build your startup and be a part of those communities. So if you need maybe an AI engineer, it is easy for you to get somebody from the community. So communities are an important part of the startup ecosystem. Okay, so if you have to get involved in all of those in communities as well. Then we have the support, which is the backbone, which is where people like me tend to come in. So the support, which are your backbone, we basically, it's the startup advisors, the incubators, the accelerators. We're basically there to give, your startup all of the support that your startup needs. Okay, and we have the incubators. The incubators, they majorly provide office space, they provide resources, they provide mentorship, and we have the accelerators as well, which more or less are there to just fast track your growth through mentorship and a level of funding. Okay, so your startup advisors, your incubators, your accelerators are actually all there to majorly support your startup and give you that backbone that you actually need. Okay, and then we have the PRO, which majorly um, publicity, okay, pushing news about the ecosystem, because all of those news tend to attract a lot of things. Okay, so if, for instance, you hear this happened, this happened, this happened, the likelihood of investors coming because of that happening increases. So PRO plays a major role in the ecosystem. Okay, because people listen to the news, people tend to make decisions off of what they read. Okay, so PRO of the ecosystem is actually an important part of the ecosystem as well. Then we have the government, okay, which are the people that control all of the regulatory, the policies, the infrastructures, and actually provide all of the subsidies. Okay, so these are the major people and the major categories of people that are involved in the startup ecosystem, and each of them are very, very important. Okay, so each of them are very, very important. Okay, so in your startup journey, you have to be able to pull from all of these categories. Okay, pull from all of these categories. Okay, if you're lacking in one, then there might be an impact on your startup. Okay, so ensure that you're able to pull from all of the different category of people that make up the startup ecosystem, so you can have a balanced startup. So moving on, still on the support basically. So why a startup advisor is critical. Okay, so if you check when we discuss the startup ecosystem and we see who is involved. Now, majority of the time, the you as a founder, there is this drive to always want to focus on the product itself, but that is on the solution that you're trying to build. And I tend to say this: you go to school to become an engineer, you go to school to become a doctor, okay. But when it comes to becoming a founder, okay, where do you necessarily get the knowledge that is necessary for you to be an effective founder? And that is one of the things that is actually lacking in our ecosystem. Startup education is lacking, okay. And so that is where startup advisors like me tend to come in. So we tend to be your way through the process of building a startup. So from strategic clarity, okay, we help you refine your vision, define actionable goals for you to help you achieve all of those goals that you have set. Okay, then it comes to problem solving, because most times in the course of the training you would see how to go from ideation to problem solution fit and the rest of them. You'll see that most times a lot of founders, when they have a problem in their head and a solution pops into their head, they stick to that solution and they run with it. And then it is you actually most times running with so much speed, but you're running with so much speed in the wrong direction. Okay, so we come in to basically pause. Okay, the solution that you're running with, is this the most effective solution for you to be able to solve this problem? Okay, so we identify challenges and potential risks early and propose practical solution. Okay, then guidance for growth. We provide expertise on how to scale your operations, how to secure funding, and then key partnerships. And then we have the networking power basically as well, because we tend to meet a lot of people in the ecosystem. So we're able to pull from our network of resources to be able to give you all of the support that you tend to need. And there is a statistic that I love so much, and I have seen it work actually. And for any of you that have used a startup advisor, you would have actually seen the impact of it. The founders will work with advisors, grow their startup 3x faster than those who don't. Okay, and that statistics is true. Okay, ask anybody that has worked with a startup advisor. They will tell you the importance of having that advice actually come from them. Okay, having them as part of your startup and helping you through your building journey. Okay, so moving on, why do startups fail? Okay, so this is there are like 15 reasons why startups fail. Okay, so I just took the major ones. Okay, and that is what you can see. So this is from CB Insight. And the first reason that you can see here is they run out of cash and failed to raise new capital. Okay, and which is one of the core part of our discussions today, funding, investors, and the rest of them. So one of the top reasons startups fail is because they run out of cash. And there are many reasons that actually lead to you running out of cash. Okay, it might be one of the reasons you're running out of cash is because you received investment too early. Okay, so if you receive investment too early, it can result to you running out of cash. Okay, and then you can see the slash it run out of cash slash fail to raise new capital. So in 2024, this has been the biggest reason why a lot of startups have actually failed. Then we go down to no market need, which goes back to the discussion of you have a solution in your head and you're running with so much speed, but in the wrong direction. So if you keep on running with so much speed in the wrong direction, and then you get to the path of scalability or you get to the path of growth, and then you realize that the solution that I have built for this problem, despite the problem has a huge market need, the solution I have built does not have all of that market. So the solution I have built only has a section of the market, and the section of the market is not enough to actually support my growth as a startup. Okay, no market need. You can see 35%, which is actually close to the reason why startups fail because of they run out of cash. It is really really important. So it is really really important that in the course of building your solution, you have to be sure that this is the right solution for the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay, if you don't confirm that, then you're just running with risks basically, or running in the wrong direction with so much vigor. Okay, so this to this training is scheduled to be for 1 hour, maximum 1 hour 30 minutes. Okay, and so in that time frame, two of the major things that we're going to address is the funding, which is running out of cash, and then the no market need. Okay, so we're going to address those two, and then maybe in the Q&A we'll touch on cost and pricing and cost issue, and not the right team. Okay, so yeah, so these are the top reasons why startup fail, and basically startup advisors guide and help you avoid the mistakes that lead to failure. If you're bringing on a startup advisor at the early stage in the process of when you're trying to still build your solution, they're able to tell you, they're able to vet that solution to ascertain if the solution effectively solve that problem that you're trying to solve or not, basically. So moving on, okay, so we have understood that one of the top reasons why startups fail is because they run out of cash. So how exactly does funding work? Okay, so now there are two types of funding. So there's the external funding and there is the internal funding. So external funding, just like we have from the name, is funding that is raised from outside of the startup. Okay, so capital source from individuals, institutions, organizations outside of the startup. So any money that is coming in, but is not coming in from the startup, but it's coming in from outside of the startup, is being categorized as being external funding. And internal funding are resources generated or retained within the business itself. So when the startup, the founders or the startup are able to generate money, okay, to be able to fund the operations of the startup, that is internal funding. But when money is coming in from when money is coming from outside to be able to fund the operations or to fund whatever in the startup, that is being categorized as being external funding. Okay, so now you would see this chart. I would come back to it. You can see the value of debt. You can see your break-even point, where angel investors should majorly come in. And then we have the early stage and what VCs then, IPO, secondary offerings. So I'll come back to explain this diagram in depthly. But now, so if we move on to external funding and we look at the types of external funding. So we have friends, family, and fools. Okay, they have said some people say fools, some people say fools. And the reason for fools is because majorly where friends, family, and fools comes is basically at your ideation phase. So they're coming in when when they have no guarantee that you're going to build something that is going to work. Okay, so I am not your friend, I am not your family, but I am still giving you that money with that so much risk and no guarantee that what you are building, okay, it is going to work. Then I'm categorized as being a fool, okay, or a fool. Okay. So that is one major source of funding that a lot of startups use in their beginning phase. Okay. So friends can give you money, family can give you money, your uncle or people that you tend to talk to can give you money. So that is a categorization of being of your friends, family, and fools. Okay. And then we have crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, basically, when you have to do crowdfunding as a form of raising funding. I think majorly now there are platforms that enable you to do crowdfunding, and one of them is it Get Equity? Yes, Get Equity is one of them. Get Equity is a crowdfunding equity platform. So how it works is you basically publicize your startup, and then let's say you want to raise so amount of money, okay, for so amount of equity that you're willing to give out. So those platforms tend to push it out there, and then they have the ability to enable you break that money into different units. Okay, so I can decide that what I have is this amount of money that I have, okay, and I fix it. So it's more like pulling money from different sources and the rest of them. So that's crowdfunding. There are platforms that currently exist that would enable you to do that effectively well. Then we have accelerators and incubators, okay, which more or less provide support, resources, networking opportunities, and limited funding compared to VCs. VCs actually give the highest amount of money when it comes to when it comes to funding. So we have the accelerators and we have the incubators. Then we have grants. The grants are funding that are coming with no expectations tied to them. Okay, so now going back to friends, family, and fools. So for friends, family, and fools, the risks for you as a founder depends on the agreements that you have with whoever is giving you the money. Okay, so let's say I am raising money from my dad right now. If it fails, my dad cannot kill me, cannot shoot me gun. I'll tell him, Papa or Daddy, the money you gave to me, the startup I want to do it has failed. Though. Okay, so no wahala na. Okay, so when it comes to the terms and agreements for family, friends, and fools, it is usually it is usually it has less risks. Okay, so it has less risks, so it is flexible to some extent. Okay, because you have a level of relationship with these people. Okay, when it comes to crowdfunding, depending on your on your output of what you have stated is going to be the reason, okay, why they should give you money. Is it crowdfunding based on did you promise them something? If you promise them whatever you promise them, then you have to ensure that you tend to actually fix it, because remember it is crowd. So let's say I promise to deliver on this, and that is the reason why they're giving me money. If you don't actually deliver on that promise, there's tendency for all the crowd to gang up against you. So depending on what you've actually promised as a reason for that crowdfunding, it determines what the risks of that is going to be. For accelerators and incubators, it is also very kind of minimal because they tend to give you a form of mentorship as well as funding. So they don't actually just give you funding; they give you mentorship as well as funding. Okay, so the risks as well when it comes to them as well is lesser because they are part of your startup process. But for grants, grants are categorized as being free money, basically. So you have no payment, you have no, there is no obligation for you to make a repayment of them, and there's no obligation for you to actually give out any form of equity. But one of the things that you tend to see with grants is grants are usually, some grants are usually specified to specific things. So I may be telling you this grant, you're receiving it, but this grant is meant to do A, B, C. So despite you have this money as a grant in your startup, you have to use it for the purpose to which the grant was raised for. Okay, so that is usually the only problems that actually come with grants, using the grant for the purpose to which it actually came for. Then we have angel investors, which are majorly individuals that provide funding in exchange for equity or convertible notes. Okay, so I would break down what equity means and what convertible notes tend to mean for people, for founders that actually do not understand that. But those are terminologies that you have to be able to understand as a founder. You have to be able to understand what an equity is. You have to also understand what convertible notes actually is. And convertible notes as well, you can also be offering that to your family, friends, and fools. Okay, because friends, family, and fools are getting wiser. Okay, they are now understanding that okay, this thing has the potential to actually be big in the future. Okay, so depending on them, you can actually also give them convertible notes as well. So as we proceed, I will break down what convertible notes actually is. And then we have venture capitals, which are basically firms that invest in startup with high growth potential. Okay, and it is often in exchange for equity. I am giving you money, but as I'm giving you money, I'm taking a part of the startup and I am coming on board to the startup. Okay, so my money is not for you to take and go. My money, I am following my money. I am following my money into your startup. Okay, and so we will get to why that is a lot of problem. Okay, so there's a lot of problem that actually come with VC funds, and if you don't understand why those problems are coming in, okay, it becomes a lot of problems for you as well. And so we have loans. Loans are like what it is. I take loan from you, I have to pay back the loan, and it often comes with an interest. Okay, so these are the various types of external funding that you can use to basically fund your startup. Okay, so as we go on, we will delve deeply into the angel investors and the capital and the MVC and MVCs as well. So for VCs, now how do they work? Okay, so now let's say um let's say an institution or a retirement body, okay, we want to be able to, we have a lot of money coming to us and we want to invest across different things, okay, and so they give their money to a particular organization. So the organization takes all of the money. Okay, we want you to be able to invest this money in a way that yields return to us. So that organization takes the money and breaks it into different forms of investment. So they put some here, they put some here, they put some there, they put some here. And then they take a part of it. Okay, so they take a part of it, usually a minute part of it, and then give it to a VC fund to say, we know you have the capacity to generate a level of return for us. Okay, we're trying to diversify our portfolio to be able to receive investment and to be able to receive return from various angles. Okay, so we're giving you this money with the expectations that of that within a specified period you're going to be able to generate a level of return to us. Okay, so we understand that this is high risk, and when it comes to high risk should always come with high reward. So whenever something is bringing high risk to you, always ensure that that high risk actually comes with a level of what high reward. Okay, so we understand that the startup industry is high risk, but we also understand that with high risk come high reward. So we're giving you this to be able to walk around it to be able to generate the level of returns to us. Okay, so VC, when they're releasing money and the rest of them, there is that high risk factor that has been integrated to the money already. So the money is already specified to be used for something, and the money is expected to do something. because the money is expected to do something. So it is IRIX money, and it is expected to do something. Then the second one you see is specific to a goal and time bound. Now, it is not indefinite. So the conditions are usually given to a fund is usually 7 to 10 years. Okay, so I want to be able to receive a return on investment on this money that I'm giving to you in 7 to 10 years. Okay, so they release all of those money with the hope that whoever is managing the money is able to generate a return for them in 7 to 10 years. Okay, so that is why most times what I always advise when you have to apply to a fund is when was that fund released and what's the duration of the fund. You will notice that most times they tend to want to release all of the funds within 3 to 5 years. Okay, so they want to release all of the funds within 3 to 5 years. So they're pushing out the money, pushing out the money, and pushing out the money. Okay, because they want it to be able to mature, so that when it's getting to 7 or getting to 10 years, the return is actually visibly clear for them to be able to get the money that they need to actually pay back. Okay, so it is an equity-based investment. Okay, so they're taking a part of your startup, okay, and they're giving you money, and they're they're most likely not just giving, because of it is IRIX, and they have to account for the money and ensure that the money generates a level of return to them. So because of they have that expectation of them, okay, so it makes it less likely for them to just give you money and leave you. They have to give you money and stay and monitor you that the money actually yields the fruits that it is supposed to yield. Then it is valuation driven. Okay, it is valuation driven. Active involvement is still goes down to being a part of the startup to ensure that the money I have given to you yields the fruits that it's supposed to yield. Focus on scalability. Now, remember, it is IRIX. So because of its IRIX, there's an expectation on them to be able to yield, to be able to ensure that there's a return on investment on that money. Okay, so what VCs tend to do is they tend to focus on startups that have a level, that have the potential to be able to scale. Okay, so if you as a startup, you want to receive investment from a VC, always ask yourself, have I gotten to the point of scalability? Because with too much money comes the need for you to also raise or generate too much money. I have given you a level of money. You have to show that you are able to generate that level of money as well. Okay, so if you're not at the point of scalability and you're collecting VC's money, okay, you are most likely choking yourself, because they want to get that return in the fastest possible time. They want to get that return in the fastest possible time. So VC money is meant to enable you to scale. Okay, you can only get that amount of money that you need to actually to get that amount of money that they are looking towards, only when you are able to scale. Okay, so VCs have a focus on scalability. Okay, and then exit oriented. How do they get back their money? They can only get back their money when your startup exits. So if they're looking at your startup and they're looking at your pitch, they are looking at, is there an exit strategy for your startup? Okay, do they see the end of your startup to say, okay, is there potential for your startup to be acquired? Okay, so they look at what is the exit, what is the possible exit of this startup. If they don't see a possible exit for your startup, then it means their money is going to end, because their money can only come out when exits happen. Okay, so VCs are highly exit oriented. Okay, they're highly exit oriented. Okay, so if you have to receive investment from VCs, okay, first of all, research. Okay, research. Look for funds that are specific to your startup industry and goal. Now, most times when those funds actually come, okay, they are usually tied to specific industry or specific goals. Okay, so don't blindly just stay and apply for VC funds. Always ensure that you do the extra research of, do I fit into the goal of this fund? Okay, because if you don't check all of those things and you just apply, there is already a guideline of saying this is this money, this is what and what it can be used for. And you do not fit the what and what that money can be used for. So most likely you wouldn't get it. Okay, so do the extra research of ensuring that this VC fund that I am applying for, I fit the goal and I fit the focus of this fund. Okay, so do that extra research before you do your application. If not, you just end up, you're just doing Sahara. And you know, when it comes to all of these applications, a lot of time is actually invested in them. You realize that you've spent majority of your time that you'd have used for something else. You spent majority of that time doing application and sending to this VC, and they just ghost you. Okay, so do that extra research and ensure that before you actually proceed. Then when it comes to your pitching, now I have told you how the VC think it tends to work. That it is high risk, specific to a goal, it's equity based, and their focus is on scalability and they're exit oriented. So when you are pitching to a VC, you have to ensure that all of those things that enables them to see your exit strategy, your ability to scale is actually visible. Okay, so if they are sure that you have the ability to scale, okay, you have the ability to scale, your exit strategy is actually clear, then the likelihood of them investing in your startup tends to increase. So your vision, your market size, how big is the market? Okay, the market size determines also to some extent how much you're going to make off the market. Okay, if you get 2% of the market, what is 2% of the market going to yield exactly? Okay, so the market side has to be visibly clear. Don't just throw in numbers. Ensure that the market size is the market size that you're focused on. Then the business model tends to prove that your model is able to generate the money that it is supposed to generate to be able to scale at the rate that it's supposed to scale. So your business model has to be clear. Your revenue potential has to be clear. Okay, use of funds. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of founders tend to run into problems is you have a solution, you have a product, okay, you have a startup, and you are built or you are in the process of building, and the next thing you just go, I need funding, I need investment, and you start focusing on getting investment, but you have not actually taken the time to actually ascertain, why do I actually need that investment? What is the use of this fund that I'm trying to raise? This fund that I want to raise now, what exactly in my startup is it going to be used for? So most people that are trying to raise is actually going to do for them. Okay, what they're going to use that money for. And when you are unsure of all of those things, when you pitch, when you speak, it makes it sound unclear. Okay, but when you're sure of, okay, this is what I need this money for, and this is the expected result this fund it is supposed to get for me. Okay, it makes it show that you actually need this fund. Okay, so don't go to raising fund, okay, that you have not sat down to calculate if you actually need that fund. Then you're just buying problems for yourself. Okay, now due diligence after you've pitched, okay, you've convinced the investor on the likelihood on you've convinced the investor to be able to take interest in you. Due diligence always follows. Now, due diligence is them checking all of your startup operations and your startup processes. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that happening. Okay, so your financial records, your productions, your projections, your product market fit, your founders track record, your team dynamics, the burn rates, they would check all of those as part of the due diligence. So if you're going to raise funding, always also ensure that your due diligence is actually ready. Okay, everything that you need to prove to enable them do due diligence is available, and you can just send the link or send whatever it is, and then they're able to vet all of those. Okay, so that's due diligence. So term sheet. So after the due diligence process, okay, they tend to send a term sheet which shows what their offer is going to be to you. So the offer that is going to come to you, and with that offer comes a level of okay, and their preference for what their conditions for so conditions for investing in your startup can be anti-dilution. So anti-dilution is if you raise in the future, the amount of equity that I own in your startup is not going to dilute. Okay, so dilution is majorly watering down the percentage as you receive more money. Okay, so their preference can be anti-dilution. The preference can be also liquidation preference of saying, if you have to pay out, you have to pay us first of all. Okay, so in the event of liquidation, you have to pay us first. Okay, so all of those are communicated in the term sheet. Okay, what they're going to offer to you, as well as the conditions that are going to come with all of those offers. Okay, now there are a lot of technical terms. Okay, that usually come with all of those term sheets, and it is important for you not to sign away your destiny. Okay, so don't sign away the destiny of your startup and then you come back and say, I did not know, I did not read it. Okay, so don't, for the excitement of the money that you want to receive, okay, focus too much on that. Okay, they say they want to invest, they have made an offer, and you focus so much on that offer and the money that you don't pay attention to the conditions that are coming with that money. Okay, because the conditions determine if you're going to sleep well or not. Okay, you may take money and the next 1 week you cannot sleep. Okay, because you're now realizing, these are all the problems, these are all the conditions that I signed, these are all my rights that I signed with receiving this money. Okay, and you just buy a lot of problems for yourself. Okay, so ensure that when you receive all of those things, if you don't understand the terminologies, get a startup advisor, get a startup lawyer, okay, to be able to enable you vet all of those term sheets. There is room for negotiation. So especially when there's an offer that has been made, it means they are interested in you. Okay, they have seen what they want to some extent. Okay, so you can negotiate. So getting a startup advisor, getting a startup lawyer to be able to review all of those, to negotiate and ensure that your interest as a founder and the interest of your startup is protected. Because you see, from all our explanation, VC funds, they have to pay back at the ending of the duration. Okay, so that is where they are focused on. If they don't deliver what they're supposed to deliver, it becomes a problem for them and it actually affects their ability to be able to raise more funds in the future. Okay, so they are focused on ensuring that we get this desired results that we need to get. Okay, so don't for the sake of money sign away the destiny of your startup. Okay, so we have the negotiation and agreement, which you should always involve a startup advisor or a lawyer to it. Then we have the funds disbursement where the fund is released, and then we have the post-investment rule. Now, this post-investment rule as well, it is really, really important. Um, it is the role that enables you not to sleep. Okay, so they have given you the money. They will be on your neck for you to deliver results. So that is the post-investment role. Okay, so they'll be there to be able to guide you as well. Okay, it's a two-way thing. Okay, it's for you to be able to understand what their intentions are and what their focus is. If you understand that, okay, this is what is important to these people. This is what is important. This is what is important to a VC. Okay, so when I have identified that this is what is important to a VC, whatever I am doing and I have taken this money from them, I am able to ensure that their interests are protected. Okay, but when I go on to receiving VC money and I don't even know what's their major interest, and I want to just run my startup like that, it's not going to work because they have to protect their interest. And if they feel you're not protecting their interest, all of the conflict that happen will actually tend to happen. Okay, so before you raise money from, ensure it's a good thing you are in this training, so you tend to understand to a level, okay, what VCs tend to be interested in. Like, so now you understand. So when you're raising all of those monies, you know that this is what's important to them, and you can tend to work towards that. Now for angel investment, okay, not Sabinus, okay. So for angel investment, okay, angel investments are individuals, okay. So they're individuals who tend to provide money for either equity or convertible notes. Okay, they're majorly focused in the early stage and focus. Your VCs are focused at the point of when you've gained product market fit. So if you've not gotten to product market fit, tend to just try as much as possible to avoid VC funds. Okay, so get to product market fit before you receive VC funds, so you can tend to sleep well. So angel investments tend to come in early stage. Okay, so they can be part of your seed investments. They can be when you're trying to get to problem solution fit. Okay, they are part of your early stage focus. When you're still at that early stage and you need all of those funds to be able to get things done, angel investment, that is where they come in. Okay, so it is also high risk, high reward for them. Okay, high risk, high reward for them is in the sense that um, you don't have a viable solution. Okay, so they're investing on you with no guarantee that this is going to work. Remember, it is early stage. It is in the early stage, you can fail, you can succeed. Okay, so there is no guarantee that you're going to succeed. Okay, so because there is no guarantee that you're going to succeed, it is high risk for them. The tendency for them to lose their money is very high. You might take the money and decide to build for 10 years. High risk. Okay, so angel investment coming in at the early stage comes with high risks. So that high risk gives them the expectation of receiving high rewards. So the high risks give them the expectation of receiving high rewards. Okay, and individual or smaller investments, like we said, local preferences and personal interests. Now remember, these are coming from individuals, and since they're coming from individuals, there's always that: what am I actually interested in? So there are people that actually only invest in fintech startups. There are some that they have decided they're only going to focus on else-based startups. Okay, so angel investment and angel investors usually have that preference and personal interest for what their focus is going to be, since it is their money. So they will decide how they want to spend their money, if they want to spend their money here or not. So that local preference and personal interest is actually there. Then the character of founder. Now remember, it is their money. They're not sure that what you're building is going to work. So they're not sure that what you're building is going to work. So most times their bet is on you as a personality. So the idea is part of it, but majority of it is coming from, okay, let me bet on this person. This person looks like somebody that will have sense to deliver what they're supposed to deliver. Okay, so they're betting on you. So the character of a founder, your character is actually important to an angel investor. Okay, so how you portray yourself, how you carry yourself when it comes to angel investors, actually very, very important, because most times they're actually betting on you as a person. Okay, now exit expectations as well. Like I said, the world is getting smarter, people are getting smarter. Okay, um, for angels, exit expectation is one of them. The other one is funding expectations. When are you going to be able to raise your next fund? When are you able to when are you able to do your valuation? Because remember, it's early stage, and the early stage you have not done, you might have not have done your valuation, so you don't even know what is the worth of the company. Okay, so and they are giving you this level of money. Okay, so when they give you all of those level of money, it's either you're giving them equity outrightly, or you're giving them convertible notes. Now, convertible notes, which I've mentioned plenty times, is a two-way thing. Okay, it is I'm giving you this money. Okay, it is going to be a loan for a duration of time until so and so happens. So if so and so happens, that loan is going to convert to being an equity. So it's more like them protecting the interest and protecting their money. So I'm giving you money in your early stage. Now, the startup may fail, the startup may not fail. Okay, if it fails, I beg, give my money back. Now, loan I give you. So you give the money back. The money is registered as a loan. Okay, but if you're able to do your valuation, you're able to scale and you're able to raise funding. So at the point where you're doing your valuation, okay, my loan can be converted to equity. But now the convertible note usually comes with a level of requirement or agreement. Okay, if you're converting my money to equity, an angel investor can say, I'm only going to buy it at, I'm going to buy it at 20% less your valuation. Okay, so maybe you're raising at a 1 million thingy. Okay, 20% less is you're going to offer it to them at 800K. And that is because remember, they gave you your money, they gave you that money since when there was no guarantee. Okay, so it's more like they have taken that high risk. Okay, so that high risk, you have to give them a level of preference, you have to give them a level of reward. Okay, so convertible notes usually come with small of those and conditions, and the conditions are there to ensure that the angel investor gets high return for the high risk that they have taken. So equity, or you give out, or convertible notes, what the angel investors get, and it's also what you can also give out to some of your friends, family, and fools that demand for. No, 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 no. We know how these things work. Okay, so what is it that we're going to get? Yes, it's either we get our money back, or you're going to convert it to equity for us at these conditions. Okay, so bootstrapping, this is this is one joke that a lot of people tend to say that VC-backed founders are fresher than bootstrap founders. Okay. Anyways, I have no comments for that. Okay, but bootstrapping is basically your ability to be able to self-fund. Okay, so you are funding the startup from your own personal savings and personal money. Okay, now this is actually internal investment. Remember, when we were defining how funding works, we explained that there is external funding and there is internal funding. So bootstrapping is a form of internal funding, money that is coming from you as a founder to fund the operations of the business. So I'm not receiving any external money. Okay, I want to be able to fund this startup by myself. Okay, we the founders, we want to be able to fund all of the operations of the startup by ourselves. That is bootstrapping. So it's a self-funded. Okay, and since it's a self-funded, they have to be conservative when it comes to spending money. So they tend to have a lean operation. So if you're running if you're bootstrapping and you're not running a lean operation as a founder, hmm, you're taking on a lot of risks. Okay, so when you have to bootstrap, you have to understand that the order of the day is for you to go lean. The order of the day is for you to go lean. Okay, do you need to use an office? Do you need to go and rent an office space? Okay, when there are co-op spaces that you can use, so you pay for an office that gives you can instead of going to have rent your own building, fund the whole thingy thingy thingy. Okay, so when you're bootstrapping, it is important for you to have that lean operation mindset to ensure that you cut your operating cost as much as possible, because you don't have that luxury of funds for you to be able to do whatever you want to do. Okay, so remember, part of the reason why startup fail is they run out of money. Okay, so when you're bootstrapping, whatever money you have, it has to be managed. So since it has to be managed, lean operation is the order of the day. Go lean. Okay, then we have profit driven. You're running lean. Whatever you're doing, you have to ensure that you are generating revenue from the word go. You're bootstrapping. Revenue is the order of the day. We have to generate revenue. We have to generate revenue. Okay, so they are revenue oriented, profit driven. Okay, so sweat equity. Sweat equity falls onto your ability as a founder to be able to not pay for certain things but do them yourself. Okay, so you want to be able to, you need this to be done. Okay, and you go and want to get somebody, they tell you to get this done, it is 1K dollars. Okay, but is it possible for you to go and learn that thing and be able to do it? If it's possible for you to go and do it, sweat equity, you go and get it done, go and learn how to do it. Okay, you want to build a blog and they're telling you, developer is telling you cost of a blog is 2 million naira. Okay, is it possible for you to go and learn WordPress and use WordPress to be able to build that blog for now? Okay, sweat equity. So you as a founder have to be able to identify opportunities where you don't have to spend money. Okay, ways for you to do things to save money for the organization. So not everything you have to pay for. If you have the ability to do them, you go ahead to actually get them done. Okay, so phased growth is the ability to grow in phases, because remember, a startup stage, there are different stages to a startup. Okay, and there's a stage where you have to scale. Okay, so you are phasing your growth because you don't have the luxury of funds. So because of you don't have the luxury of funds, there are certain risks that you cannot take. So your growth has to be phased. Then we have the leverage-free, low-cost tools and operations, which basically I've actually explained in sweat equity. The ability to be able to look for tools that can get the work that you need to get done, to get them done to get them done at a lesser cost to your startup and as a lesser cost to you. Okay, so customer funding is a form of funding that is not popular. Okay, so it's not, so it is a form of funding that is not popular. Okay, so it's a form of funding that is not popular, but it is important. But it is important. Okay, so just like you have bootstrapping, what customer funding tends to focus on is bootstrapping is me as a founder, I am generating the money. Okay, but customer funding is my customers are generating the money that I need to fund my business. Okay, so you can see the difference. The fund source, founders' personal savings, customer funding, upfront payments from customers. Okay, so can I charge my customers upfront? Okay, can I charge my customers before I am able to deliver the service? Customer funding. Okay, so your customers bring in the money that you need to operate your startup. And remember, technology is making it easy for us to be able to do all of these things. And you realize that most times, depending on the problem you're trying to solve and the solution you're trying to offer, you have the ability to actually ask customers to pay upfront for your services. Okay, so when you actually do all of those, that is customer funding. And the time frame, funds are limited and slower to accumulate. For customer funding, the money is coming in, it is funding the operations of the business. Okay, so risk is borne by founders for bootstrapping, but for customer funding, the risk is shared everywhere. So the startup is incurring risks, the customer as well is also taking a level of risks as well. Cash flow operates on existing savings and revenues. And for customer funding, remember they have paid you before you deliver the service, so you can use the money to actually carry out the operations to deliver the service to them. Okay, so that is customer funding, and it's a form of funding that, if possible, try to ensure that it's enshrined in your solution. Yes, in your solution. Okay, because it saves you a lot of headache and it saves you a lot of looking for investor here and there as well. Okay, so how to attract funding for your startup? The first one is defined use of funds. Okay, so the reason why you actually need those funds has to be clear. Okay, so what specific purpose will the funds serve? How will the funds directly impact your startup's growth, scalability, or maximize ROI for investors? Okay, so your investors have expectations. So how does your disbursement of those funds enable them to be able to maximize their return on investment? Okay, so define the use of the funds. Okay, so you don't raise more than you need and then run into plenty problems that you cannot sleep. Then tailored pitch to tailored investor. So you understand that different level of funders actually focus on different level of things and they have different levels of expectations. So when you're reaching out to all of these investors, ensure that your pitch is tailored to their expectations. Okay, so your pitch is tailored to their expectations. So who is the right investor for your startup at this stage? What unique value does your startup offer that would appeal to this specific investor? Which goes back to the research, ensuring that when you're researching and when you have to make an application, you ensure that your startup actually meets their preferences. Okay, then clarity on your startup stage. For early stage startup, your focus should be on angel investors and friends, family, and foes. Friends, family, and foes, grants. Okay, that's where your focus should majorly be. Okay, why for startups that have achieved product market fit, then you can fully go for VC funds because you know that I have achieved product market fit. If you give me money, I'm able to scale. Okay, so show clear roadmap and preparedness. Okay, what systems or processes do you have in place to execute your plan? Are you legal, financial, and operational, and are you operationally ready to receive the funding as well? Okay, so if you have all of these things clear, it is easier for you to be able to attract funding. Now, remember when we started this conversation on why and the major reasons why startup fail. Okay, we can see that the first one was the running out of cash, and the second one is no market need. Okay, so no market need is a major problem, and how do we ensure that there's actually a need for a startup? Now, the stages of a startup always starts from the ideation phase. So I have this idea, I'm working, and this idea pops into my head. And mostly when all of those idea pops into your head, you realize that a solution always pops in with it. Okay, so for founders, you get, if that's true for you, you can just drop a comment on the comment section. When the ideation, the initial idea for your startup came into your head, with that initial idea came also a solution. Okay, so it is normal for ideation. So you just notice that as the problem is coming, the solution is also coming with the problem. Okay, it is normal, but it's important for you to bench that solution. Okay, it is important for you to bench that solution and focus on the problem. Okay, not the first solution that pops into your head when that problem pops into your head. Because if you run with that first solution, remember that first solution, it came at that instant. Okay, you didn't stay, you didn't vet it. If you run with it, the tendency for you to end up failing increases. Okay, so when the idea comes and the solution pops into your head, bench the solution. Okay, focus on the problem. Okay, dissect the problem. Okay, understand. Okay, this is the problem that I am trying to focus on. From this problem, this is the customers. These are my target customers. So this is the customers that I am focusing on. These are the customers that have this problem. These are the people that have this problem. So the problem, the people that have the problem, then what are the possible solutions that I can use to solve this problem for this set of people? Make a list of them. So when you're making a list of all the possible solutions you could use to solve the problem for the customers, if the solution that you have, that you had in your head pops up, hallelujah. If it doesn't pop up, don't go back and go and be falling in it or trying to tweak your problem to fall to fit that solution. Remember, the emphasis is on the problem and not on the solution. Okay, so make a list of possible solutions that can enable you to solve that problem for the customer, for the people that you have identified as people that are having that problem. Okay, so you have the ideation. So your ideation, when it comes, take out the problem, leave the solution one side. Problem customer discovery. This is the problem that I want to solve majorly. This is the customer segment that this problem. These are the people that actually have this problem. Okay, and I am sure that these people have this problem. Then problem solution fits. Now remember, you're making a possible list of solutions that can actually solve the problem. But not all of them is going to solve the problem in a way that the customer is going to be interested in. And not all of the solutions are going to solve the problem effectively. Okay, there are some that are going to solve it in an easy way that's in a very way that is very, very complex. Okay, so there's a solution effectively solve the problem for the customers that you have identified. Okay, so that's the problem solution fit, ensuring that you have that fit. Whatever your solution is, it majorly solves this problem for these customers that I have defined. And then from there, you go down to your business model fit. Okay, so I am sure that my solution is working. Okay, my solution is working. My solution solves this problem for this set of customers. Okay, is my business model a fit to be able to work the way that I want it to be able to sustain and scale the startup? Does it enable me to generate revenue? That's a business model fit. Because understand, problem, solution are two parts of your startup, not the entire part of your startup. So your startup goes beyond a problem and a solution. Your startup goes beyond just your problem. Okay, there are many parts, there are many other parts that makes up your startup, not just a solution. So if you check maybe a business model or a lean canvas, you'll see that there is the problem, there's the solution, there's key activities, there is the costing, there is the revenue streams, there's the target customers, there's the customer channels. Okay, so there are other parts of your startup that combines to make up the full startup. So your solution is just a part of the startup. So your business model fit is checking the boxes of every other part that makes up a startup to ensure that everything is a fit to generate revenue and for your startup to operate the way it's supposed to operate. So that's the business model fit. Okay, so for you as a founder, sit down and ask yourself, okay, I have the problem sorted, I have the solution sorted out. The other parts of my startup, okay, have I taken time to actually analyze them and ensure that they are where and how they're supposed to be? Okay, so that's the business model fit. And after the business model fit, you've ensured that everything is aligning and able to generate revenue, then you go for product market fit. Okay, so I like this quote at the down, which the founders who work with advisors grow their startups 3x faster than those who don't. Okay, and it's a reality of things. Okay, so We have done this over time. So we've done this over time. So we know what to look out for, how to enable you to go faster, how to enable you to discover what you need to discover very, very quickly, how to do all of your iterations really, 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 really fast. Okay, so if you need to get an advisor to be able to enable you go all of this process in the fastest time possible. Okay, so those are the different stages of your startup, and you have to know how to go and get into all of them. And then common challenges founders face. Okay, what's the time? 9:08. We're actually rounding up. So the common challenges founders face. Now, first of all, you have a great idea but do not know where or how to start. Okay, so that is one common challenge founders tend to face. You're currently building a startup but focused but confused about what's next. You have a startup product but no paying customer revenue. You are unsure if your operational strategy is the right one for your goals. You're overwhelmed with startup decisions and need clarity. You're struggling to pitch your startup to investors effectively. You're facing difficulty securing partnerships and funding for your startup. Okay, so these are common challenges that startups do to face. And I wanted to actually break down all of this. Now, for the first one, you have a great idea but do not know where to start. Okay, so now remember in the previous stage of where we say ideation, okay, I've told you when all of this idea come and the solution comes, try as much as possible to take the problem, leave the solution. Take the problem, leave the solution, and subject that problem to the systematic process of who are the customers and what are all the possible solutions, which one best solves this problem for these people that I have identified. Okay, so that is systematic process that you can use to actually ensure that is working. Okay, so that is how you solve that. You have a great setup idea but do not know where or how to start. So take that first of all, identify the customers, and then follow that down. You're currently building a startup but confused about what next. Okay. Now it depends on the stage that you actually are. So the stage that you're currently at determines what your confusion is going to be about, and that is the perfect time to get a startup advisor. Okay, because they can more or less help you deconfuse what is confusing you. Okay, so the stage where you are determines what you should be confused about, and there are startup advisors that are there to enable you to actually go to be able to go through that. Okay, so you have a startup product but no paying customers or revenue. Um, it is a systematic process, and systematic process, when you tend to skip them, you tend to result to a lot of problems. So you will see people that from ideation, they are going to build a solution. So you have spent time to build a solution and you didn't talk to one of the people that are supposed to use the solution. Okay, you didn't take your customers with you in the process of building a solution. So if you don't take them with you through the process of building a solution, you just come one day and say you have a solution and you want them to actually get it. Like, what's the guarantee that what you have built is actually what I want? Like, what's the guarantee that this problem is important enough for me to be willing to pay for it? Okay, because there's a difference between this is a problem for me and am I willing to pay for it? Okay, am I willing to pay for it? Then am I willing to continually pay for it? So I can decide that this problem, I can pay for it once. But am I willing to pay for this problem continuously? So that is something that you have to actually identify in the process of building. So this problem, okay, when it comes to the customers, how important is this to how important is this to them? Are they willing to pay for it once? And if they're willing to pay for it once, are they willing to continually pay for it? So you have to actually ask yourself that question. If you don't consider that question, and you just focus on you building and you build. When you build finish, only you will use it. Okay. So that is how you ensure that by the time you have a product ready, okay, you have people that are actually ready to use it because you are sure that this product you have built, there is a need for it, and the people that actually need this product are willing to pay for it, not just one but continuously. Because remember, when we define what a startup is, remember tech-enabled scalability growth. Okay, if people are not willing to pay for that problem repeatedly, it means your growth is stunted, your scalability is stunted. Okay, it means your scalability is automatically stunted. So if you're designing a solution that people would not be willing to pay continuously for, you just know you have a problem already. Okay, so that's something you always have to consider. Okay. So and then one okay, I'll come to tools later. So I haven't said those tools, which is one of the processes that I actually use when I have to do all of the products building and building products. Now which is, where is it here? Struggling the picture where, okay, which is in terms of you are trying to build, or you're trying to ascertain which of the features I should be able to add. Okay, which features should I focus on? Which features should I prioritize as a startup? So first of all, you consider your reach. How many customers will this feature impact? Which is how many customers will this feature tend to impact? What is the level of benefit of that feature to this to the customer? Is the level of benefit, is it low? Is it medium? Is it high? Is it headache? Is it migraine? Or is it operation? Okay. How confident are you about the benefit? Okay, because founders are used to having bogus ideas. You have this high level of optimism to say this thing is going to, this thing is going to. So you tend to increase the worth of certain things. Okay. So how confident are you about the benefit? Okay. And the time and resources required to build it. Now, when you're trying to build, you have to try to, as much as possible, reduce the number of features that you're dishing out. What are the important, this is the solution that I want to do. This solution that I want to do, what are the important segments that enables me to be sure that this solves this problem for this customer. I dish it out, the customer use it before I scale. But you see that you build 1001 features into a product that you have not that you have not launched. Again, it just becomes overwhelming. So you're wasting time, you're wasting energy building a product that you have not even tested out. So focus on, okay, what is my MVP? These little things, I categorize them, I push it out, do a test. Is it working? Are they using before you introduce any features? Okay, but when you just go and you want to build feature, you want to build feature builder, feature builder, I salute you. Okay, so unsure if your operation strategy is the right one for your goals. I would say I have to look at your operational strategy first. So you have to talk to a startup advisor. Okay, overwhelmed with startup decisions and need clarity. There's founders community that you can be a part of, and depending on what is making you overwhelmed as well, talk to a startup advisor. Okay, they're not as expensive as you think. Okay, so book a session with them, have a conversation with them, tell them what your problems are, and they're able to give you a level of clarity, or the level of clarity that you actually need. So struggling to pitch a startup to investors effectively. Okay, I feel that is something that we have addressed in the course of the training of, okay, what you should pitch, okay, to each investor, and ensure that each pitch is tailored to the investor that it's supposed to be. So I have a training on pitch that I've actually been writing that for more than a year. Basically, I've been writing this speech. I started it more than a year ago, but the time to complete it has actually been a problem for me. Same thing with a book that I've been writing on, which is Tech for Nonprofits. How nonprofit organizations can actually adopt technology to scale up the work and operations that they do. So timing has not allowed me to be able to complete those. So hopefully I should be able to complete them this year. Okay, but what that training does, it enables you to identify all of the different areas of your pitch deck, all of the various areas of how to pitch. Okay, so it's a practical work, it's a practical workshop training. And so by the time you're done with the training, you should have what to say and you should have what to send. Okay, so if I have that ready, I'll send it to everybody, basically. But pray for me to be able to complete it this year. Amen. Amen. Now, facing difficulty securing partnerships and funding for your startup. What I would say as well is be clear on the partnerships that you need and the reason for your funding. Okay, and then with what we have discussed today, that should give you a level of clarity. If you need more in-depth thingy, then get an advisor. Advisory is not an investment. Advisory is an investment, not an expense. Advisory saves you from a lot of problem. Okay, and you should see it as an investment and not an expense, basically. So I have a task that I wanted to basically give. I wanted to give everybody to be able to be able to do, basically. Okay, but anyways, before I do that, so a run through. We're rounding up. We have just 12 minutes. I'm going to take questions and then we'll conclude. So we started this conversation by discussing if you really start up. Okay, we considered what makes you start up, and we identified that there are three things that makes you start up. You have to be scalable, you have to be tech enabled, and you have to have the ability to be able to grow rapidly. Okay, then we looked at the categories of startups. Then we went on to what are classifications of a startup. And then we proceeded to discuss the startup ecosystem and all of the people that are involved in the ecosystem, from the founders, which are you, to the investors, to the communities that are important for you to be a part of. Okay, because all of those communities are, you get people that you need to be able to build a startup from those communities. And then we talked about the support, the support system of the ecosystem, which is more like the backbone, the startup advisors, the incubators, and the accelerators. Then we looked at PR, and the role that they actually played. And then we looked at the government role that actually also play as well. And then we looked at why a startup advisor is important for you to have, okay, and how they provide you a level of clarity, they provide you guidance for growth, they provide you ability to be able to solve majority of your problems easily, and they give you that networking power that you need for your startup. Okay, and then we proceeded to look at why startups fail, and we can see that the major reasons why startups fail are, one, because they run out of cash, and two, because there's no market need for whatever they have built. Okay, and then we said startup advisors guide and help you avoid the mistakes that lead to failure, basically. And then after that, we looked at how funding works. So we looked at external funding, we looked at internal funding, and then the various types of external funding, from friends, family, and fools, to crowdfunding, to accelerators and incubators, to grants, to angel investors, to venture capitals, to loans. And then we looked at how venture capitals tend to work, okay, how the money flows and why they actually act the way that they do. Okay, and then we looked at what is the investment process is supposed to be, how you have to do your research first before you go towards pitching, and then due diligence, and then term sheets, and then for negotiation and agreement, how you have to ensure that you always have a startup advisor or a legal personnel in the startup industry be a part of that negotiation and agreement, so you don't sign away your destiny or the destiny of your startup. And then the fund investment and the post-investment role of the VC, okay, why their focus is on the focus that they need to do and how to actually tend to manage all of this process. And then we went on to look at angel investment, okay, what they tend to focus on, okay, what is important for them, okay, what is important for them, okay, and what they actually get, okay, equity or convertible notes. We define what equity is. We also tend to explain what exactly convertible note actually is. And then we looked at bootstrapping, VC-backed bootstrapping, how bootstrapping self-funded form of funding, what you should focus on when you're bootstrapping, which is you have to ensure that all of your operations are lean. Okay, then we look at how it is profit-driven, revenue-oriented, how it is sweat equity, which is the ability to be able to do things that you can do and cutting off that cost. And then how they tend to actually grow in phases, okay, to ensure that they apply phased growth. And look at customer funding as a form of funding there, and you have to look towards implementing your startup, okay, which then we consider the difference between both of them. So the personal savings and the customer fundings are fundings coming in from your customers, upfront payments for services that you are yet to deliver. And then we looked at how to attract funding, which is ensure that there's a defined use of the funds, there is a tailored pitch to tailored investors, there's clarity on your startup stage, and able to show clear roadmap and preparedness. And then we look at what stage is a startup, how you should go from ideation, and in the ideation phase, taking the problem and dumping the solution wherever you want to dump it. And from the problem, you identify who the customer is supposed to be for this problem. And then from the problem, from the customer, you get the possible solutions to solve that problem for the customer. And from the possible solutions, you ensure, okay, which of these is a fit to the problem in the way that my customers are going to be willing to pay for and continuously pay for. And then look at your business model fits, which is me basically saying the problem and the solution are one aspect of the startup. They do not make up the entire startup. So there are other parts that you have to consider, okay, that make up your startup. Revenue model, your key activities, your key metrics, your customer channels, okay, all of those are important things that you have to pay attention to, and you have to ensure that all of them fit. All of them fit. So that is the business model fit. And then we looked at the product market fit, which is the points to which you gain product market fit, and how, if you have to raise funding from VCs, you should most likely be doing that when you've gotten to product market fit. Okay, and then founders who work with advisors, go their startup 3x faster than those who actually don't. And then we just looked at the common challenges founders tend to face, and you have a great idea what to do. You're currently building but confused, reach out to a startup advisor. You have a startup product but no paying customer, because your whole building process has been a problem. Actually, you didn't follow it systematically. So go back to the foundational thing and then rebuild it from ground all the way again. And so advisory is not advisory is an investment and not an expense. So those were basically all of the things that we covered. Okay, so before I would go into questions and answers, then I will go into the task I'm going to give everybody. Okay, so like I said, my name is Sokaribo Senibo, and basically I'm a startup advisor, so I am here to guide you through all of the process to growing very, very fast. Okay, and you can see reasons why you need a startup advisor. You definitely need reasons. So basically sit down and consider your reasons, and you see that there are 1001 reasons why you need a startup advisor. Okay, and this is about me, this is my milestones, and these are the possible things that I can do for you. Okay, so you have a startup and you need me to be able to review what you have built, okay, to come up with recommendations. So I review your product and make recommendations of what you should actually focus on, okay, basically. Or you have an idea and you want to be able to go from idea to MVP in shortest time possible as well. Okay, that's the idea to MVP roadmap. If you need an assessment of your startup financials as well, it's a service I offer. And then when it comes to startup advisory retainership, that you want me to be a part of your day-to-day running of your startup, that is also something that I also tend to offer to startups. Okay, so currently I'm working with a lot of startups, so I am more interested in every startup. Okay, so I tend to vet the startups that I actually also work with as well. Okay, so now, so at this point, I'm going to open the room to feedback, questions, and answer. So how has it been so far? Give me a reaction, give me a comment. Has it been valuable? Have you learned something? Has it been valuable? Okay, thank you, Tara. Okay, thank you, Tara. Drop a comment. Okay, give me a reaction. Thank you, Mayaki. Thank you, Adako. Okay, thank you, Adi Makin Emmanuel. Okay, so meaning it has been a valuable session, basically. Okay, so if you have questions, so we've taken 9:26. This was supposed to be a 1 hour 30-minute session. Okay, um so we're going to do Q&A for the shortest time possible. So if you have questions, just please raise up your hand now so we can count. So somebody's question is not leading to your question. So if you have questions, now just raise up your hand. So let's count the number of people that have questions and we can tend to focus on them. So we have Tara Atta, we have Yemi Adebo, okay? Any other person that has a question currently? Okay. Chuku Dadibia, okay? And okay, so I know. So Tara, do you want to go first? So ask a question. Do you accept other forms of payment other than cash? Is that your question? Do you accept other forms of payment other than cash, like equity? It depends actually. So like I said, I am not there to work with every startup basically. So I tend to vet the startups that I work with to ensure that there is a startup found and there's a startup advisor fit. Okay, so just like you do your product market fit, there has to also be a startup or founder advisor fit. So we have to be a fit for us to be able to work together. So depending on that fit determines what I'm going to accept. But yeah, so that's it with that. Okay, so Yemi Adebo, okay, what's your question? Okay, I need to give you room to. Okay, so you should be able to turn on your mic now. So quickly, in the shortest time possible, what's your question? Mm-hmm. Yemi, you can unmute your mic and ask a question. Mm-hmm. Okay, if Yemi is not hearing me, Chukudadibia, please go ahead.
Okay, I have done that. Good evening, everybody. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
good
my
evening.
question is, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hello? Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Yeah, good evening.
Can you
Can you
guys
hear
hear
us?
me?
Go ahead. Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Okay, so I have two questions. One is, uh, when a VC asks for, okay, when a VC asks for financials, what does that mean? Then, secondly, how do you if you have your startup has more than 3 products, how do you represent it on your deck, your pitch deck? So those are my two questions.
Okay, so for the first question of what exactly is financials? Okay, now when you are meeting I think where did you even see that again? It should be on the slide. See here. Yes, financial records. Okay, so when you're meeting a VC, to some extent, you should have gotten the level of track record. So your level of track record, it means you should have generated the level of revenue as well. So what is that financial record? Okay, what is your, do you have a balance sheet? Do you have a balance sheet? Do you have a profit and loss statement? Okay, so those are financial records that you need to have, okay, and that you need to actually provide as well. Okay, so if you, I don't want to keep on making reference to the services I offer. If you see, when it comes to my startup financials, okay, it covers a comprehensive financial plan for your startup to ensure sustainability and growth. Okay, so the pricing model, the balance sheets, the income statement, the statement of equity, those are actually basically covered. So that is what your financial record is. Then your second question was on what's the second question again? Mm-hmm. What's the second question? Yemi? Mm-hmm. Okay, Yemi cannot hear us again. Okay, when Yemi comes on, then you hear us. Chukudadibia, please ask a question so we can conclude. Mm-hmm. Chukudadibia, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello.
Second
Good
question.
evening. Can you hear me?
Okay, second question was, how do you have more than 3?
Okay, I've remembered. You have more than 3 solutions. How do you put them in your pitch deck? By putting them in your pitch deck. Okay, so if you feel those 3 solutions that you have, those 3 features combines to make up the solution that you offer, then put them. Okay, because they make up the solution that you're offering. So it's important for it's important for people to see exactly what you're offering. Okay, so if you have 3 features that makes up your solution, put them in your pitch deck. Okay, basically. Yeah. Chukudadibia, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening.
Yeah, good
Can you
evening.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay. So my question is, I wanted you to explain what it means for a startup to achieve product market fit, like what it really means. Like when do you know that you have gotten product market fit?
Okay, so when you have gotten product market fit is I remember when we were explaining you being able to confirm that you have a customer base that is willing to use the solution that you have developed to the problem that they have. And are they willing to pay for that solution? And are they willing to continually pay for that solution? So when they are willing to continually pay for that solution, at that point, you can now say you have gotten to product market fit. Okay, because there is a confirmed market that is able to serve the product that you have actually designed and for. So that for your product market fit, you know there's a customer and you know there's a customer base already. What the focus now be is scaling. So if I was offering this service to people based in Lagos, I can now scale to Port Harcourt, scale to Abuja, scale to London. Okay, so that is where scaling comes in. So product market fit, the easiest way you can tend to understand it is seeing it at the point where I have enough, where I have the market is willing, I have customers that are willing to pay for my service and pay for my solution to the problem that they are having, and they're willing to continually pay for it. And that customers are enough to ensure my growth. Okay, the customers are enough to ensure my growth, because you can't say, oh, my papa or my uncle, and they are willing to pay for it over and over again. Your father and your uncle cannot sustain or grow your startup the way it needs to be grown. Okay, so the market, okay, and the people, the people that are willing to do that, are they enough to ensure the sustainability of your startup? Okay, so at that point, you can say you have achieved product market fit. All right. Okay, so give me a reaction if you're okay with that thingy. Okay. All right. So down to the tax. Okay. Thank you, Chukudadivia. Okay. So I want. Now I know that for everyone, your startup is at various level currently. Okay, your startup is at various level currently. Okay. So what you're going to do for me is you're going to um you're going to list out the current problems that you're currently facing in your startups. Is it that you're in the ideation phase and you're facing a level of problems, or you are what are the 5 major problems? Okay, and when you're writing these problems, write them based on number one should be the most important. What are the 5 main problems that you're experiencing currently for your startup? Okay, so what are the 5 major problems you're experiencing currently for your startup? Now, if you check the announcements group, you'll see a phone number. Okay, so that is my phone number. Okay, so send me a message. Okay, so when you send me a message, we're going to book a 15 minutes call for us to be able to, for me to be able to discuss that problem with you. Okay, so it's a 15 to 20 minutes call. Okay, so what are the 5 main problems that you are facing? Okay, and this is only available for tomorrow and next tomorrow. So it's only available for Saturday and Sunday. So any meeting that I'm having with you is going to be, I'm having it tomorrow with you, I'm having it on Sunday with you. Okay, so if I don't receive a message from you from now till morning, okay, then it is as you just don't send me a message again. Okay, so because it is my time. Okay, I have done this for the over 2 hours right now, and I'm still willing to take 15 minutes for each of you to be able to go through the problems that you are facing in your startup. Okay, yeah, so send them to me, and we're going to book a 15 to 20 minutes call for us to look at that problem, and then I can recommend solutions for you, basically. Okay, so yeah, remember you have to deliver from now till morning. Okay, so for my website, you've seen it, sokaribo.com, 10% discount. You don't have any discount, basically. Yeah, there's no discount. Okay, so should I do discount? 10% discount. I don't know, 10% discount for today and tomorrow. So if you need all of any of those services that I have listed, which is a review of your products. Now, you can be building and be building in the wrong direction, or you can be building and you have features on your startups that you're not supposed to actually have. Okay, so what I do with the startup review and recommendation is I take a look at your problem and take a look at the solution. Is your solution the right one to be able to solve the problem for the customers that you have defined? Okay, and I look at that as well. Then I look at what are the possible what are the possible features that you should have? What are the possible focus that you should focus on? What are the things that you should spend, and what are the things that you should drive forward on? So that is the startup review and recommendations. I look at, and also I don't just look at your product. I look at the full startup. Remember, the product or solution are just one part of the startup. We also have other areas of the startup as well. So I look at all of those parts to ensure that everything that makes up the model actually fits, and basically. Okay, and then the idea to MVP roadmap is basically for people that are still in the ideation phase. So you're at your ideation phase right now, and you're confused on where do I go from ideation, where do I go, what do I do next? Okay, so this is what I do for you to able to show you this is the roadmap that you can actually take. These are the tools that you need. Okay, this is the technology stack that you actually need to be able to get this done. And it's that, so that's full roadmap of where you can actually go. It's something I can actually do for you as well. Then for your financials, okay, and then for startup advisory, you want to put me on a partnership for your startup. Like I said, I don't just jump on board a startup. I have to vet a startup as well to ensure that we're a fit. Okay, so after all of this vetting, then we can discuss what the costing is going to be. And then investment readiness. Okay, so you're at the point where you need to get investment. Okay, so I basically help you get all of the readiness that you actually need to be able to do this. So you can visit the sites at your convenience and then basically check all of them in depthly.